All right, I need to take a look at the poll results here. Let's show you what we wound up with. Oh, wow! After you negative Nellies a couple segments ago, went all negative and said, no, they can't continue to do this. The Sunshine Sterling crowd, I think he was whipping up the crowd on his cell phone or something.
Yeah.
So they take the cake. The win goes to the offense. We'll continue to have that up, and you can play it throughout the show. But as far as our official standings, we're going to call that one in favor of yes, heck yes, they can continue to win this way. Greatness ahead. All right, let's talk about the playoffs. Let's go ahead and look at these full screens if we can, these graphics for folks. There we go. Scores from yesterday. All right, 6 teams in the top 20, all of whom were projected to be in the playoff mix, all lost yesterday. And that is great news for Tennessee. They're listed in pink there. Penn State lost to Ohio State at home. Texas A&M finally lost in the SEC. Crushed at Carolina in November. I think Vol fans can relate to that. Clemson lost to Louisville. That's a big help for Tennessee. That's their second loss. Iowa State and Kansas State in the Big 12 both lost. That's great. Pittsburgh got whooped by SMU. That should end their chances with that bad a beatdown. Here's why that matters. Take a look at this next graphic here. This will explain it. All right, so there's going to be 12 teams in this playoff, and you just think about it. It's like, well, the SEC will get 4, the Big Ten will get 4. Well, look at these other leagues. If the ACC gets 2 teams in, and the Big 12 gets 2 teams in, the Group of 5 champion is automatically in, and right now it looks like Notre Dame probably isn't going to lose, so they're going to get in. That's 6 right there that are already taken, which means you'd have 6 slots to share between the Big Ten and the SEC, which if you're Tennessee, now if you win, you beat Georgia, it doesn't matter. But if you lose to Georgia, okay, now you're going to be hoping that there's 4 slots for the SEC, just to make things easier for yourself. So what you need is you need the ACC and the Big 12, and hopefully Notre Dame, to start taking some losses. And yesterday, Clemson, Pitt, Iowa State, Kansas State, those all help your chances. If you could just get 3 teams instead of 4 from the ACC and Big 12 combined, if Notre Dame could somehow lose, then you can kind of feel comfortable, regardless of what happens at Georgia. And I'm also, let me be clear here, I'm also taking Vanderbilt for granted right now, which is your absolute nightmare scenario. You beat Georgia, and you're sitting there probably number 1 or number 2 in the country, and you lose at Vanderbilt. But for now, we'll just put that in the win column, and we'll just look at the Georgia thing. Jimmy, your thoughts on the playoff path and what we just laid out there? How do you think it looks for the Vols right now?
I think it looks really good given the losses that you just talked about. So what happened with the majority of these teams is they now have lost their margin for error. Now, some of them may be out anyway, but there's no margin for error. I mean, Clemson has to win the ACC now, right? Or they're out, and they have to beat Miami in the ACC title game. A&M's got Texas later. If Texas beats A&M, A&M's out. But the Iowa State, the Kansas State, and the Pitt loss, those are really beneficial to Tennessee. So now, when I look at Tennessee, and if Tennessee can go 10-2, I really like their chances of getting in the college playoff a lot more based on what happened yesterday.
Clemson loss was good. SMU all of a sudden becomes an interesting team to watch because they have 1 loss to BYU. They have a clear path to an unbeaten record in the ACC. If they can go to the ACC title game and beat Miami, then SMU's getting in, and Miami would still get in 12-1. But I think the Big 12 really helped Tennessee. I think the Big 12 is playing its way to 1 spot, is how I would view that. So that could open up a position. But how Tennessee plays against Georgia will, if Tennessee loses that game, and Tennessee's 10-2, 11-1 they're obviously in. At 10-2, if they don't beat Georgia, how do these closer games against Kentucky, Florida in overtime, how does that affect Tennessee the way it's viewed against the committee? I think that's the fear that still exists out of these close wins Tennessee has.
You may need a close defeat to Georgia if you lose to them, right?
You don't want to get
playing well in the loss.
Right. Let's talk to Georgia very quickly with you two guys. There's really 2 ways of looking at it. If you're wanting to reach Atlanta, okay, get Georgia as many losses as you can, then you go down there. But if you're just looking at playoffs, which matters more than the championship now, sadly, if you're just looking at the playoff, then you kind of need Georgia to be a good win if you beat them and a good loss if you lose to them, which means I had somebody text me during the Florida game yesterday, said, I'd love to see Florida beat them. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. No, you want Georgia to be a quality win or loss for you either way. So when you're watching Georgia Ole Miss this week, I think you need to be pulling for Georgia.
Well, for 2 reasons. One, get Ole Miss out of here.
eliminate them.
That
Yeah.
loss puts Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss done. And yeah, that's exactly what I was saying yesterday. As Florida looked really good in that game right up until they lost their starting quarterback, and I was sitting there saying, no, we don't want Florida to win this game, except for maybe that they would keep Billy Napier. But as far as the playoffs are concerned, yeah, it puts you in a weird cheering position.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I
that's
don't
what I was
like
gonna
Texas.
ask.
But get Texas A&M out of here when they play Texas in a couple of weeks.
And Chuck, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you finding this fun that now we're not just watching games that, I'd like to see this team win or this team win.
Right.
Now it's like, well, normally I would be for Georgia to lose, but I've got to pull for Georgia to help my playoff chances because my second loss will be. Is that good? Do you like that?
Well, I mean, I think it adds some interest to it, doesn't it? And it's like the baseball term scoreboard watching.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing more of that. The thing I wonder about, guys, is Tennessee just has one quality win, and that's against Alabama. And we've talked about it before, the weak non-conference schedule, and then the teams you've beaten. NC State kind of fell off the map. That was a top 25 win. borderline.
Oklahoma's fallen off.
Yeah, Oklahoma's fallen off. You go to Arkansas and lose, and now you've had teams go in there and win convincingly. So if you start comparing things, I can see how Tennessee's got some work to do.
Beat Georgia and they don't have any work.
Well,
You beat
exactly.
Georgia.
Undefeated,
You're
but
good
yeah.
if you beat Georgia. All right. We are miles over, so we're going to come back. I got a weird question for the VFLs. In the past, well, I'll tell you what, I'll save it. We'll talk about it. Is it better to be strong late or strong early in a game? Come on back.